假如书籍会说话，今日对话，你当像鸟飞往你的山。
Teacher Fei, you said that education is a prism for reshaping self-perception. But why do I feel more 痛苦 seems to be cut off? Could you please provide the full sentence? If it's just as provided, the translation would be Q. Teacher Fei, you said that education is a prism for reshaping self-perception. But why do I feel more distressed after getting into university from a rural area?
Because you are beginning to see the collision of two realities. The so-called truths instilled in the old world are cracking and peeling away under the light of new understanding. This is not a regression, but the tremors before the breaking.
But my parents say that by pursuing my education, I am forgetting my roots, which makes me feel guilty as if I were betraying them.
The mountains only teach us to look up at their peaks, while the stars teach us to look down upon the mountains. When you see the entire map of the stars, you realize that forgetting one's roots is actually another way of putting down new ones.
But the memories of domestic violence always tear at me in the dead of night. How can I make peace with them?
Don't force yourself to be grateful to those who have harmed you, but thank the part of you that wasn't broken by the pain. Remember, even in the rust of the chains, there is friction that allows you to climb.
You said that memory can be the joints of wings. But how exactly can it be transformed?
Try to start a new line in your diary for your childhood transform. My father hit me on the head with the Bible into, I caught the falling words and let them grow into my spine.
But every time I send money home, they still scold me for not returning to get married.
Stop using financial compensation to buy emotional immunity. True filial piety begins with helping the 17-year-old version of yourself, cowering in the barn, to stand up.
How do you distinguish between self-reinvention and cold-hearted selfishness?
Look at whether your core is fear or compassion. Fear breeds the knife that stabs at family, while compassion makes you the net that catches those falling in your clan.
Should I expose the lies when my sister defends the abuser again?
No need. You just need to write on the first page of your own story. The truth does not require a hearing with everyone present. It is established when you no longer cooperate with the performance of silence.
What does it mean when the apple tree from my hometown keeps appearing in my dreams after being away for 10 years?
That is a nostalgia for another form of life, a reminder not to mistake escape as the goal. For the ultimate mission of education is to empower you with new springs to flow through the dry old riverbeds.
They say that women who read too much can't find a husband.
Marriage should never be a timed escape. What you need to build is a city with windows, where those who wish to join you can step into the light, rather than huddling under someone else's roof for shelter.
But now, I belong neither to the city nor to the village. What am I, then? Migratory birds never need a permanent home. They measure the world's latitudes through their journeys. This sense of suspension is not exile, but freedom that comes from becoming your own coordinate system. Experiencing physiological vomiting every time I encounter things from the past, is this a psychological disorder?
That's the rejection response when the ceramic shell falls off. Remember, what you're spitting out is not just fear, but also the molds of others that have been cast into your stomach.
But in the end, my mother chose to stay in the mountains. Was there any meaning in my escape?
She lifts you to a height where you can see the stars, an act of photosynthesis in the dark night. The awakening of every woman is a monument that frees future generations.
How can I cope with the feeling of suffocation when returning home for the spring festival?
Carry an unopened copy of the Cry as a talisman, and in the midst of the clamor, silently recite, what I'm breathing now is the very breath exhaled by Zhao Hong when she escaped from Hulan River in 1943.
What should I do when family members use the debt of gratitude for raising me to manipulate me?
Gently yet firmly, I respond, I am using the vitality you have given me to nurture a reverence for life that goes beyond mere filial piety.
How long does it take to recover from trauma?
Count time like a tree counts its rings when one day you find that the painful memories can nourish others' wilderness. The cracks have already grown into channels guiding light.
Why does reading more books make me feel lonelier?
Because you are undergoing quantum leaping. To those in your old relationships, you appear as a blurry light spot. But soon, a constellation will sense the resonant vibrations.
Does the influence of one's family of origin last a lifetime?
Yes, but no longer as a bridle that cuts into the flesh. rather as the invisible veins of wings on your back. When you have flown long enough, those lines will become the currents that lift you up.
How should we speak to the sisters who are still in the mountains?
No need to speak. Let the aurora in your eyes reflect into the mirrors where they groom. For the penetrating power of light endures longer than any shout.
You said that education is about reclaiming the narrative. How can this be done in practice?
From now on, write the resume of your life as by Tara Westover. Every choice you make is a chapter in your epic. Signed by you.
Finally, please give one message to all those struggling in the labyrinth of blood ties. Blood ties are merely the first snowflakes the universe sprinkles upon your soul. What truly determines the river you become is the warm courage to choose whether to melt or freeze.